A stalemate in the Western Sydney derby. Sydney FC with a huge victory over Newcastle Jets. And Melbourne Victory, they pick up their first win of the season as well. There is a lot to talk about from round 3 of the A-League Men's 2025-26 season. And join the discussion. Jump in the comments section. How did you feel about your team's performance from the weekend? Kicking off on Friday, Brisbane Roar and Melbourne City playing out a scoreless draw. A fascinating game. Melbourne City controlling large passages of this match as expected. Melbourne City have made an impressive start to this campaign and we're coming off that big 4-0 victory against Perth Glory the previous round. But away here to Brisbane Roar proving to be a really difficult side to break down so far this season. A win, a draw, and a loss so far for Brisbane Roar. So mixed results, but overall, they do certainly look like a competitive side this season, but maybe still just lacking the goals a little bit. While their defensive organisation was really good in this game, and they were under the pump late on. Melbourne City were really pushing towards the end. Brisbane Roar holding on here for a scoreless draw, which against a good Melbourne City side is probably a valuable point and a valuable clean sheet as well against a strong side there in Melbourne City who had scored 4 goals the previous round. So Brisbane Roar, I'm still not fully convinced that they are going to be a finals team this year, but they certainly look like a competitive side, that is for sure. They're just going to find some more goals this season. Melbourne City, not a bad result for them away from home. Perth Glory were hosting Melbourne Victory also on Friday evening, and it was a 2-0 win for Victory, their first win of the season, and a really important response for Victory after that really disappointing result for them the previous round, that 5-2 loss away to Jets, 2 consecutive away games, heading over to Western Australia, which isn't always an easy match, as we know, even if Perth Glory are struggling a little bit. But as we know, Perth Glory last week announcing the departure of Davids, Rilich, and you thought maybe, with the side going through a little bit of change, that maybe the team really would have stepped up in front of the home fans here and responded with a win, but they were unable to do so against Melbourne Victory, who started with Juan Mata in that starting 11. That was the big news heading into this game, and he was great. He was fantastic, and he showed everyone, especially Western Sydney Wanderers, what happens when you play this guy in his natural position, man. He was playing as that number 10, that attacking midfielder. We spoke about it pre-season. It was a move that made sense. He was going to get more game time at Victory and more game time in that natural position. And look what happened. He had a great game. He scored a goal as well. And he came off the bench in the first couple of games. But after this performance, he may well be a regular starter. It's an interesting conversation looking at that Victory midfield because Denny Genro's made a good start to the season as well, playing in that number 10 position, but he's had to drop a little bit deeper, but he can play the position as well. So as long as they can get both those guys, operating effectively in that system there at Melbourne Victory, they could be set for a good season. So finally getting back to winning ways here, Melbourne Victory, a very, very important 2-0 win. Matt Grimaldi, shout out to him as well, was good in this game with 2 assists. So a very, very important 3 points for Victory. And Perth Glory, man, what do we say about them? After this result, there's a real worrying sense that this just might be another repeat for Perth Glory. Surely not. A lot of talk and rumours and reports in regards to coaches linked with Perth Glory. We'll see whether they announce someone real soon or whether they take their time with that appointment. I think if you're a Glory fan, you probably want someone to come in ASAP. It's still early in the season. Got to get someone in as early as possible, give them as much time as possible to try and rescue this season. Look, I shouldn't get carried away. We're just 3 games in. It's not like Perth Glory are completely out of the race, but it's worrying signs. Just because we've seen this happen before at Perth Glory, where they've just completely fallen away throughout the season and haven't been able to recover. So it is worrying them, seeing them, struggle at the bottom of the ladder already after 3 rounds. Saturday, 3 very fun games. Auckland FC 2, Adelaide 1. And I tell you what, Auckland FC, again, like what we said last week, after they got that win against West City Wanderers, a relatively comfortable win against Adelaide here. It's just going to be the same story, I think, again this season for Auckland, man. Just strong at home, wins for most of their home games, I reckon we can expect this season. And for Adelaide United, they weren't bad in this game. The Reds, 2 consecutive losses now, which I think is going to be really disappointing for them, considering that they have put in some decent performances so far, man. Ethan Aligic working really, really hard in midfield. Yaya Dakouli's looking good. Craig Goodwin is having an impact on games as well. Luka Jovanovic with a nice goal for the Reds. There are positives there for Adelaide. So I think, it's a little bit disappointing for them that they are, got 2 consecutive losses, 2 losses off their first 3 games here. But overall, I think Adelaide have at least for me. I don't know about you guys. Like, they've impressed me maybe a little bit more than I expected. They're looking better than I expected, I think, so far this season. It's always going to be a tough away to Auckland FC, a 2-1 win in the end for Auckland. Louis Verstraete was good in that game. Jake Goodwood-Reich, again, just like so solid at the back. What a signing for Auckland to bring in Jake Goodwood-Reich. I mean, to think that, you know, the guy that he's replacing in the starting 11 at the moment is Nando Pajanacker, who was arguably the best centre-back in the league last year. And Jake Goodwood-Reich has come in and he's arguably the best centre-back in the A-League so far this season. So Auckland looking very comfortable at the moment. Goodness me, we have to talk about this result, don't we? I mean, this is maybe the real surprise of the round. Probably is, isn't it? I don't think anyone really expected a whopping win here for Sydney FC. Sky Blues coming off that 2-0 victory against Mariners the week before. Looked good in that game. But here against Sydney FC, they were just, at times in this game, just unstoppable. And concerns for Newcastle Jets, who have now conceded a real handful of goals in their first 3 games. And a lot of the talk around Newcastle Jets, not just this A-League season, but in their Australia Cup run, is how good they are going forward, and Battleado scoring a hat-trick last week, and Burgess creating things, and Ben Gibson leading the line, and these exciting attacking players. But it's clear that Newcastle Jets still have serious issues in defence. And this is something that I raised after their Australia Cup victory. It was huge for Jets. Well done to them, winning that first trophy in 17 years. But in order to have a successful league season, you need to have a strong defence. And so far, Newcastle Jets are showing us that they have a frail defence at this stage. They're conceding goals left, right and centre. Conceded 3 against Mariners. Conceded 2 goals against Victory, despite that big win last week. Conceded 4 goals at home here against Sydney FC, who still have, some new signings just getting clicking in attack. Really worrying signs at the back there for Newcastle Jets, and they have to sort it out because it is concerning. I remember watching this game at times when Jets sort of playing out from the back, and those centre-backs, Shaughnessy and Shushnyar, who are 2 decent players, they pull really, really wide. You see Costa Grozos drop from midfield, sort of in, almost making it a back 3, but we saw just like Sydney FC would win the ball and they would exploit the space, and it feels like just Newcastle Jets just have no one at the back. All of a sudden, it opens up just way too easily, and Sydney FC, time and time again, credit to them, had a game plan and they executed it effectively. And Al Hassan Toure with a hat trick. I mean, what a game from Toure, who is back in the A-League, his 3rd A-League club here, and fantastic in this game. Obviously taking those 3 goals, unbelievable. Well done to Al Hassan Toure and Sydney FC. Huge 4-1 victory. Newcastle Jets, very curious to see how they respond from a heavy defeat at home here. Western Sydney Derby. 1-1 between Macarthur and Wanderers. We did the live watch-along for this game. And I thought Macarthur deserved the win. I think they did. It's a bit interesting. I mean, I don't know if that's a bit of a hot take from me. I mean, Wanderers had a lot of shots in the end. You look at the stats, they did rack up a lot of shots, Western Sydney Wanderers. But I thought for the most part, Macarthur defended so well in this game, took their opportunities, scored, within the first minute and a half. Harry Sawyer, who I personally think has been one of the top strikers in the competition so far this season. Not necessarily grabbing goals every single week so far, but he's looking like he's really taking his game to another level. He's getting so involved in the build-up play, Harry Sawyer. He's set for a really big season, I think, this year at the Bulls. Opened the scoring early on, and it felt like Bulls were going to hold on, but Western Sydney Wanderers pulling back late on, but had so many opportunities that they were just wasting in that second half. Did finally get that equaliser through Pantanzopoulos again against Macarthur. He's loving scoring against their rivals there, Macarthur. So Pantanzopoulos with a goal there. 1-1 draw. And for Western Sydney Wanderers, again, they've been maybe a little bit lackluster to start this season. A strong side with the likes of Thurgate, Ugarkovic working hard in midfield, Kraev, Barusas, Barella, but the goals aren't really coming at the moment for Western Sydney Wanderers. So maybe a little bit of work to do in attack there for the Wanderers, there for Alan Stajic. 2 draws and a loss so far for Western Sydney. And then Sunday, the round finished off with Mariners 1, Wellington 1. Wellington Phoenix completely dominated the first half of this game, man. Completely dominated. Mariners did not show up in that first half. My full dedicated review of this game is over on the Coastwatch Football YouTube channel, the dedicated Mariners fan channel, if you want to check that out. Mariners responded well in that second half after going into the halftime sheds down 1-0. Sabit Nyor was good in this game for the Mariners. Andrew Redmayne with some important saves. And I think Wellington will be disappointed the way they it didn't necessarily fizzle out, but they certainly weren't as effective in that second half as they were in that first half, where they completely dominated. And again, the big talking point is this just crazy style of play that Wellington Phoenix are playing. It's just fun to watch. I was at this game. It was just crazy to see just like that whole back five just right up on the halfway line. It's just so chaotic. You don't know what's going to happen because it looked like so many times Mariners could just easily just chip it over the top and get him behind. But the offside trap is just always sort of catching us off. So it was a really, really fascinating game. A game of two halves, I think it's fair to be said. But maybe a point either way in the end, probably a fair result between these two sides, considering Mariners did work really hard to fight back in that second half and grab a point. And we should acknowledge, I mean, a lot of people writing Mariners off even early on this season. Mariners have 4 points off the first 3 games, which a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected that. Wellington Phoenix still looking strong this season. A win and a couple draws for them. They're such a well-drilled side, man. They're going to be a good team this season. I think they'll certainly be a difficult team to defeat throughout this campaign. So, 6 very fascinating results. Big talking points coming up from round 3, as there always is coming out of each weekend in the A-Leagues. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Join the discussion. What did you make of your team's performance? Got a huge round 4 coming up next week before the international break. Stay subscribed for more A-League content right here on Ozwatch Football with me, Lockie. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.